Hey everybody, Kim here with Little Biz Resources, and I have Crisi on with me today as a very special guest. And I mean special in a good way, Crisi, by the way.
Sure, sure.
So today is January 28th, 2021, and it is the live Q&A. So I kind of put these tentative topics up here, and if you guys have questions, just chime in, or well, I guess post them in there, and then I'll invite you to talk as we've, planned in the past. But today we want to talk about Etsy and some different things that are going on with that. Then I'm going to do kind of like a shout out on local reputer. Then we're going to talk about Pinterest observations and specifically using Tailwind because I have some observations about that. Then I'm going to do a Meetvio shout out for those of you who are interested in webinar platforms. And then, of course, we will have the bulk of this will probably be a discussion about Kibo code because that is extremely limited. So let's jump into the first topic with Etsy. So Crisi and I, of course, have our Etsy stores, and she's been very successful on Etsy for a while now. And as you guys may or may not know, some of you may be new, but I started an Etsy shop last year under her tutelage, and I already have a different one, but that one does hardly any sales at all because most of my sales are on Amazon. So we decided that we were going to start a similar but not exactly the same store so we could test some things and see what's going on. Now, from my observations, and Crisi, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but from my observations, it seems that longevity does have its perks. So, for example, there is an element on Etsy where people can favorite your store. And when they favorite your store, they get notifications. The next time they log in, they'll be notified if you've, added anything to your shop. And so what I've noticed recently, at least, is that when I have people that are specifically interested in something that I offer, that they like a specific, topic or whatever that I offer, then when they get that notification, they tend to make the purchase. They get notified the next time they're in. And so when I list new things, I will see repeat buyers. So people who have bought from me before within the first 2 days or so. But it's been taking some time to get any organic purchases after that. And I think, it goes back to the whole nobody knows what the Etsy algorithm is. And Christy and I have both noticed lately that it's been kind of volatile in sales. And for her, she's been steady for almost a year, ever since the lovely alleged pandemic. I say alleged because it's not technically a pandemic, but we'll just use the same phrase. So when the pandemic started, it created online sales galore. But the problem was, for the most part, and we'll talk about this more in Kibo code, the problem was for the most part that supply, if you got your supply outside of the United States, which by the way, like 90% of products or something in the United States come from China. Right. So we're talking China was shut down starting in December. For those of you who don't know, they started shutting stuff down in December. And then by, I think, the end of January, they completely closed. And then whenever, I think it's in February when they have the Chinese New Year, that's when they officially shut down. And then we followed right after that in March. So, but they started having problems. I argue is before December, but obviously they know that they had this new virus in December. And so they started shutting down manufacturing facilities then. And so the supply chain, keeping in mind that 90% of products come out of China, maybe more, it might be more, but so a lot of products come out of China, the United States. So suppliers in the United States, even, so if they have a warehouse, Amazon's a good example of this. Everybody thinks that Amazon, which is, they have warehouses in the United States, but they do two things, right? One, they warehouse inventory for other sellers. So for me, I sell, but I manufacture all my stuff in the United States and I can send it to Amazon. They hold it in their warehouses and they fulfill the orders as they come in. Two, they also manufacture their own products, typically in China, though I'm sure they use other countries as well. And they bring it, they have it manufactured in China. They bring it over, put it in their warehouses for you to make the purchase. So and they are a US supplier. Okay. So it's kind of confusing to people to understand, why do we not have products in the United States if we're not shut down? Well, when China got shut down, our supply chain got shut down. So that pushed anybody who had supply in the United States, their sales shot up, right? So that was Crisi. I started, but I still had to buy my stuff from distributors and suppliers that get their stuff from overseas. And so it was a challenge, but we were able to work it out. And, so we started building it. And I don't know, I think now some of the biggest challenges on Etsy is that competition is starting to increase again because we're seeing the supply chain restore itself, though logistics is still a challenge, which is, delivery of stuff. And then I think we're also seeing that a lot of those, but we're also seeing less competition. So more and less at the same time, because there's less competition, because I know there's a couple of shops that I was watching, they're gone now, right? Because they were probably drop shipping from somewhere, and that place is either closed down or doesn't exist anymore. So I think because of that, that has also caused Etsy to do this, like, I don't know, flip. So when we first got started, in fact, when I first got started and I opened my shop, they put me on a 90-day hold. And that's actually one of the things that I was trying to find out a solid, oh, how long is your account going to be on hold when you get started? What ones are going to be affected? And they just did an update this month and said, if you start a new account, there's a really good chance you're going to have a hold. And for me, the hold was 100%, but for only 7 days. And that was for a 90-day period. They did that. I think that's what it was. Do you remember, Crisi?
Yes, they would hold anything that came in, all of it, for a week. And then they did that for, 90 days. So
yeah. So their new updated version is vague. It literally is. I went in there to go, okay, because that's what they told me when I first got started. I went back in there and they go, oh yeah, anything that falls in this category, and they decided that I fell in that category, will have 100% of their money held for 7 days over a 90-day period. They've changed that now to be pretty much they're going to put a hold on every account, but it's going to vary based on what they feel like. So it's going to be if you get for first getting started on Etsy, you're going to have a challenge with receiving money coming in. So that's just something to keep in mind. That was an update that happened in this month. And I think that's in response to what we're seeing with an influx of people that are trying to sell and can't, they're US suppliers or they're out of the country. I've seen a bunch of out of the country ones pop up again. So that was just interesting to me. But so our initial testing, so there's a couple things we tested. So one thing we tested was in some listings, not all listings most likely, and not on all accounts. Have you never heard us rant about this before? It's that every account is different. And so when you set up an account, when you set it up, how you set it up, where you set it up, all of these play a role in sorry, I just want to make sure I am recording. Yeah, I'm recording. Okay. That was really random, right? So so they all play a role in what you see. And so when we're recording our screens and everything else, you could see something completely different, right? And each category is different too.
you and I are in the same category, just so you know, and yours is a newer account than mine. And right now you're in a beta testing thing, and I'm not.
Yeah, and you know what? I think I told it not to put me in it too.
I don't like it, by the way.
Yeah, I would. Well, you have to tell me. You have to show me what it is that's different, because
Okay.
I'll tell you that it was interesting that they keep everything. Every single platform is going to have testing on it, right? They have to, because they need to improve and continue to expand, and and they're competing with others. So it makes sense that we're going to see things different every now and again, but the variations can be significant. So one of the things, so I told Crisi, I said, man, this is killing me. I mean, I literally would do like $300 in sales one day, and then the next might be $20, and then the next might be 100, and then the next might be nothing. And now there's going to be days that are slow, but to have, for me, yeah, okay, a $0 day probably is still not unexpected, because I'm newer and I still, I still have a lot of listings, but I have like what, half of what you have, Crisi? I think that's about what it is, about half.
Yeah, well, what I've listed, yeah, not what I have, because I haven't listed all my stuff.
Right. Even if I list all my stuff, I'd still probably have half.
Well,
But
I have all those expired listings because I do.
yeah, no, I know. And expired listings are interesting in and of itself. But So I told Chrissy this, and she hops into my account and she looks at it and she goes, you know what? You are missing something that I have. And I went, okay, what's that? And she said, you need to go. And again, this may or may not be on your listing. She goes, you need to put the purpose. And, when when we're redoing our Etsy course and when we get that fully updated, we'll go ahead and share that with everybody and you'll see what we're talking about here. But I changed that to a specific purpose. And Chrissy helped me decide that because there's like 7 of them and only like 3 fit, but one of them is more specific to kind of the audience that I should be targeting. And so Chrissy said, do this. And so I went through, I didn't go through all my listings and do it because I didn't have time, but about half my listings. And I updated it and I almost within 36 to 48 hours. I don't want to say 24 because I don't think it was 24, but I want to say 36 to 48 hours. It was like different type of people buying, right? Different type of people buying. And it shouldn't, the way that Etsy tells you it says it's optional. So you don't have to do that. But as we find out on all of these platforms now, is that there's so many listings that Etsy is offering people the opportunity to narrow it down. And so if you're trying to reach a specific audience, which you should be, then you should be narrowing your listing down to your most likely audience, because then you will have, you'll have better conversion rates. You may have less views, but that's okay because you're going to have better conversion rates. And this is, I always talk about this. Some marketers out there go, oh, well, if you just send more traffic, you'll get more buyers. Well, it doesn't work that way. You have to have a match in the traffic, because if you don't, then you're just going to dilute your conversion. And then places like Etsy will, I don't want to say punish you, but they will stop rewarding you for having a good conversion value. So, I'm not going to say that that has changed everything. We only started doing it like less than a week ago, and not every single day has resulted in the same type of buyers, but it's interesting to see. Well, I say that, but then the day my buyers shifted again, Chrissy, it was the day that you noticed processing errors. So,
Yeah, they've been having a lot of problems. They're constantly doing changes. They're constantly upgrading this and doing this, and they're obviously doing beta testing and doing all kinds of stuff out there that can affect different servers, different accounts, etc. So there's going to be problems, but a lot of times I'll get on and go, what? I got 0 sales. That's impossible. And then I'll look and they go, oh, we can't list. We can't, people can't. When buyers are going to forums and saying that they're trying to buy stuff and it's not working, there's a problem, because buyers hardly ever go to the forums. It's usually the sellers. So if you see any buyers going to the forums saying, why can't I check out? Etsy's having problems. So, and then also we've seen other things where it shows up in the orders, a bunch of numbers show up in the orders and there's no orders. So they're having processing errors at that point in time, which, they're not going to tell you. They're not going to tell you, oh yeah, we screwed up something.
right. Well, and I want you guys to understand that the reason why we're talking about this is because we are, as humans, we tend to want immediate results, right? And so I'm this way. Chrissy said, why do you, she was, why do you think that you should be having the same sales as me? I was like, I don't. I just think I should be having sales every day. She's, well, why? And I'm like, because I'm human. And that's the way we are. And so while over time that might get diluted, when you first get started with an Etsy account or an Amazon account or whatever it is, you sit there and go, well, why am I not getting sales? And sometimes it's just because the people aren't looking for it right that minute. Right. In fact, I joke about this all the time. It's like things go in fads, and they could be mini fads like that week. Right. So somebody says something on a national network, or a sports person says something on an interview, and all of a sudden, there's going to be sales that splurge in that particular area. My daughter watches a YouTube video. Mommy, you need to take me to Target so I can buy some merch. I'm like, do you know what merch is? No. So yeah, and she's 8, but I explained to her merch is short for merchandise and blah blah blah. But it's just to, Etsy, just like every other platform, is going to have challenges, and it's important to understand that, so that one, you can temper your expectations and say, hey, look, if just because I have one bad day doesn't mean I'm going to have a lot of bad days, or just because I can't figure out how to get this moving doesn't mean, oh, hey, I'm never going to get this moving, right? You could just simply be having to change something simple. And of course, if you have questions or whatever, and it's something that is general enough, please post it in the Facebook group because we'd be happy to help you with that. All right. So on that note, I don't know if I've updated anybody that I did move into the top 2% on my shop. Now Crisi and I have talked about this and we said, was there any way to figure out how much money you can make if you're in the top whatever percent? And we've concluded that there is not because it's a third party that is tracking the top, the number of sales, and they go by number of sales, not by dollar amount. So like there's a store when we were first doing our initial research, there was a store and they were selling items and they were selling the exact same item no matter what. And so they had two price levels, right? They had it at like six something and then at, I don't know, like $20, right? So if they sold X amount at six, if they sold 2,000, it was at $6 or 2,000 at $20, that's two completely different numbers. So there's really no way to draw. And then mine, like my shop has like 4, 5, 10 different prices. I don't know. There's a lot of different pricing in it. So just because it says I've done, how many ever sales doesn't mean you can figure out how much I've made. But what we can conclude is that it takes it over time. So it was interesting that I increased. So it's like the whole longevity of your store. So it's going to be really hard for me to ever beat out Crisi because she's always doing more sales than me. But the fact that I eked up into the top 2% worldwide is interesting to me, that tells me that there are only a handful of stores, and I say handful as in like tens of thousands, not like 5 or 6. So like, because I think I was in the top 3 when I was in the top 3%, I was ranked at like 58,000, right? So now we know that there are 58,000 stores that are probably making sales still and doing really well. And so I think that to say, oh, hey, I mean, yes, I was very nice. Crisi's tutelage has helped me get up into the top 2% and eventually 1%. And I will probably make it there, but that's not going to be life-changing money, right? It's not going to be life-changing money. This is just something that, for now, at least, because we're fulfilling products that we're saying, hey, and there are challenges with fulfilling products, right? I mean, we haven't really dived into this, but back in April, Crisi's store peaked like major. And I think it was a $30,000 month, Crisi, right?
Yeah, 31,000, but you got to remember April's usually one of the slowest months.
Right. So normally a slow month for her, and she ended up doing $31,000 in sales for the month. She ended up with pneumonia because she was working her butt off. And that's, that's a challenge when you're fulfilling your own products. And so Crisi and I have been talking about that a lot. And that's where we were already identified that before. We identified that last year, right? So maybe I should have done this a different order, but we'll talk more about that in Kibo. So Crisi, were there any other things on Etsy you wanted to kind of throw out there and mention, and
No.
any other observations that you've noticed recently? Because you even had, like we said, the processing errors. You even had a weird couple of days because they were having processing issues.
Well, yeah, but everything can affect sales too. Even if it was not processing issues, it could have been the West Coast to almost East Coast storms that were hitting. It could have been internet lines being cut. It could have been all kinds of stuff that affect sales. You never know. I mean, it could be, I think the day that election results were coming out or something like that, it was super slow because people were just glued to the TV. They're not really shopping. So, lots of things happen that can cause lower sales in general. And anybody who's in retail can say that, especially online. Especially in person. I mean, that things happen. A pandemic hits and people aren't coming in anymore. So then they shift to online. So you've got to remember that things just happen and can affect your sales in general.
Right. And so, like for me, what I've been working on is trying to figure out a way to stabilize sales better. And that is not on Etsy. Right. So, Chrissy's been on there long enough that there's no reason why she shouldn't be getting sales every day on Etsy from Etsy. She's got enough listings, she's got enough followers, she's got plenty of built-in stuff. And we do a little bit of external marketing for her. Like I have her stuff auto pin into my Pinterest, and I think she pins her stuff to her Pinterest. And so we do get a little bit of momentum every now and again, maybe from the people clicking through or just people seeing it and then going to Etsy. And so but she has no reason to do external marketing. I, on the other hand, can't stabilize on Etsy. I'm going to have to do external marketing in order to do that. And so, see, I totally did this out of order. I could have done any of them in a different order. So that's about Pinterest. So we'll talk about Pinterest in a minute. So one of the things, and let me pull up oops, my mouse just kind of turned off. Let me pull up my website really quick so I can show you. Oh, I can't see anything.
Well, real quick, before you say something or go on with that, is that you got to remember that technically I'm in a different niche than you.
Right. Yeah. Well, we target different audiences. Yeah.
Well, we're in the same marketplace, like in the same, even targeting the same audience in a way, but I'm more in the baby market than anything.
Right. And I'm not.
I mean, mine varies drastically, but a lot of my customers are other shop owners and do-it-yourself new moms or grandmothers or whatever, and yours are very small, very like very minimal amount is going to hit that because of the sizes you have and stuff like that. But the other, the market you're in, mine will trickle into also. So we kind of are in the same markets but opposites, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so just real quick, I wanted to tell you guys that I did a post on this, and I'm sure I pushed it out at some point. This is about selling local reputation services. Now, you can sell, and I'm going to have a course about selling services. And assuming that this stays open, you'll be able to get it. But in case it doesn't, in fact, I should probably check that right now and see if it is still open. Oops, what did I just do? I swear, it's like whenever I get the microphone in front of my face, I cannot see what I'm doing. Like, I mean, it is
it
blocking the
it
screen.
doesn't help that it's as big as your head.
I know. It is. It is a huge microphone. One of these days, whenever I get it looks like it is still up. I think it's going to be one that they keep going. They just will increase the price slightly. So, because I think it technically closed yesterday, but it is still up. I'm trying to see if there's a pricing on it. Oh wait, this doesn't have this is a bundle. Yeah. So I put the bundle link, which I think you can do bundle or start at the bottom. Yeah. Man, why is the button not working? Let me see. Sorry guys, I'm just trying to check this before I tell you to go and it doesn't work. Okay, yeah, it still works. There's no button that's visible. Oh, I'm on a different browser. That's probably why I forgot. So use Chrome if you have problems with it, because it seems to be that everything else makes the button break. But local reputer, oh, and I just closed it again. Well, anyway, so let's just talk about it then. It's on the website, and of course there'll be links on. I'm gonna have a link list for you guys. I'm gonna start doing that from now on because it's hard for me to remember to send everything out. But the local reputer is basically for Google My Business, right? And if you already offer local services and you're not doing Google My Business, you need to. Okay. And we do have and the reason why I bring this up is because we do have people in our group that are like SEO people or they offer some sort of service. And so I'm assuming that there are some, if not many, that offer local services. If you are not doing Google My Business, you are doing a huge injustice to your clients. Now, that doesn't mean you have to do it. It just means it needs to be part of your discussion, right? So you can say, look, if your Google My Business isn't being managed by somebody or you're not managing it yourself, then you need to do that because that's critical to help with the services we're offering. So if you want to add it on and not have to worry about figuring out Google My Business, which it's actually not that hard. The hardest part is if you have multiple accounts, and that's where software comes in handy. So I have not had a chance to go in and dive into it because they, for whatever reason, didn't send me the password until today. So I am going to do a better overview of it. And that's why I'm just going to briefly mention it. I'm going to do a better overview. I'm going to cover it in depth in the course that I do, which is not going to be scheduled for probably 6 or 8 weeks. So I just wanted to bring that up, let you guys know that those of you that are doing local services, that if it's something you want to add on or something that you're doing and you need software for, take a look at it. All right, so Pinterest. Now I mentioned this before that, we're auto pinning from Etsy. I pin stuff in there all the time, but I'm going to tell you that Pinterest is turning into the next Facebook as far as, well, I say the next Facebook, they're all. So Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook. I mean, all of these are focusing more on, we're going to show you and make you more visible if you're paying for ads. And the great thing about Pinterest before was that you didn't have to pay for ads to get visible, that you were just, they were being generous and showing your stuff to people. And now they're prioritizing advertising more. Why? Because they went public, and now they, offering stock options and blah, blah, blah. And so now they have to make money, and that puts the pressure on. They have to be, I mean, they don't just have to make money, they have to make, absurd amounts of money. And then I was like going, so I actually stepped away from Pinterest about the time they went public, because it changed so bad. I couldn't get anything to work, and it was frustrating to me. But I noticed something that when I was leaving, I was like, you know what? I'll put the pin in that and come back. And I figured that I would do some more research and get some numbers, but unfortunately, messed some software up, and I lost all the stats. So I'm just going to tell you general observations. And that is, if you're not using Tailwind to manage your pins, you're probably doing something wrong. And you go, wait, what? It's not that hard. You just put a pin on there. No, it's because Tailwind can actually read your pins and see when people are clicking on them to help you optimize the right times. I do see some challenges with that, as in, like, just because somebody clicked on one pin on one topic doesn't mean that they're going to click on another pin that's shown at the same time, the next day or whatever time that they decide. So I go, well, I don't know how relevant that is, but what I have noticed is that with Tailwind, you get to be part of, on the core one, 5 tribes, and only 30 submissions per the free level. But if you're paying for Tailwind, which I think is like $120 for the entire year, it's really not bad for a scheduling tool. And you sit there and go, okay, I'm going to put a submission a day, so you get 30 days in the month, and you get 30 pins. So one day you're going to put the pin into one tribe, and then the next day you put the pin in another tribe. And so if you were to do that every single day, you would put 30 pins throughout 5 tribes. Now they would look different, everything else. And of course, I'll recover this in our Pinterest course, because Tailwind had some updates that are exceptional. So if you're to do that, if you're in the right niche, I should say, if you're in the right niche and you match your audience correctly inside the tribes, you are going to have a really good shot of targeting people inside the tribes. And there's some strategies on how you can do that. And using Tailwind is pretty much the only way to do this, because they're the ones that created the tribes and everything. But I found that, at least right now, that is, so like for me, I target, people who are trying to make money online. I target, crafters, crafters who are trying to make money with their hobby, or whatever you want to call it. They're trying to turn it into a business. We are looking for people who want to sell on Etsy. We're looking for, e-commerce people, stuff like that. All of that there are people in the groups that are interested in that, right? So if somebody's posting about making money online, they're probably interested in making money online. So if you get into a tribe that's like that, so some people call them groups, but they're tribes, then you would post into that, and then they're going to look at the post before they repost it to their pin, to their board, right? And so not only do you get the momentum from whatever they pin and you pinning, but you get more momentum from the people who are looking at it. So if you get that pin right and you put it into a tribe, you're now going to have those tribe people who are active and looking at stuff. They're going to be the ones that are saying, oh, hey, yeah, I'm interested in that. I'll click on it. Right now, I'm not going to say it's super easy, because none of this is super easy anymore. The way easy is gone by the wayside. The every time they go public, every time a platform goes public, easy is no longer there. So I wanted to mention that for those of you who have Tailwind, and say, look, you need to be using those tribes, and you need to look at matching whatever your offer is with the right kind of tribe. All right, so Meetvio launched today. Meetvio is part of the VO, which is from Neil Napier. I think that's his name, Neil Napier. And he is one of my very newer, I've been following him now since he released Mailvio, which is an email marketing platform. And again, we'll have all of this stuff as long as it's still available. You'll have access to it. But Meetvio launched today, and they're doing a one-time price. So keep an eye out. I'll have a link posted sometime tonight or tomorrow for those who are interested. People have been asking for a webinar platform, and I like Zoom. I use Zoom, but it's Chrissy and I were talking about this. It's kind of convoluted. It's a little more complicated than I think it should be. You should be able to like simplify your dashboard or something so you could just click the right buttons. I mean, I literally have right now, if I wanted to, I would have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then a more button with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 different options. So 9 and 15, over 20 different things that I could push and mess up
What?
when it,
Oh, this is a marker. I was gonna ask you what all the colors are for, and that's so I can mark all over your thing.
oh, thanks. That's what I get for moving you to panelist.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you, I was like, what? Why do I have all these different options? Because mine looks weird.
Huh.
Oh, you know what? That's probably your screen that I'm seeing, right? Wait, can I click it?
Oh, yeah, these right here. Oh, yeah, this is
Oh
CorelDRAW.
yeah. Why do you have CorelDRAW open? Oh, I get it. Okay.
Because I was too lazy to pull PowerPoint
So
out
I
and make it
can't
look pretty.
see like even how to do certain things. Like they don't have all the options we used to have. Like I can hit view and change some stuff, and I can do view options and change some stuff, but it's all for me. For you, for your side, I can't do as much. So you must have a lot more options than me.
Probably, yeah. And so, but either one, whether you're a panel, well, before I moved you to a panelist, did it have all those options? As attendee, it's just view, right?
I don't know because I'm seeing your screen, so I'm not sure what it's actual for me.
Okay.
They don't have like they used to have like a border around it, and now
Yeah.
they don't have that. So it's fully your screen.
Well, yeah, you're talking about Demio, right? When we were on Demio.
I don't know. No, because I don't know because mine's all updated today, so I'm not even sure.
Oh
I
yeah,
just
Zoom
I get
Demio.
to see what the kids get to see on theirs too. So like when they're viewing something, it looks different than the what you made it for me. So
Yeah. So Zoom is, while it's very hardy, and honestly, guys, I only pay $12.99 a month. But that's because I did it through the Be Connected. I should probably put that link on there too. Be Connected for you guys. Be Connected is more like if you want to reach out to and network with other people. So if you have an offer, you should be networking with other people to help spread your offer, right? That's what Be Connected is for. So, or if you are targeting, if you have a service specifically business to business, you should be on Be Connected. But I'll put a link on the link page for anybody who's interested in that. All right, so I'll put a link to Meetvio when immediately for just if you want to check out the sales page. But in the meantime, if you want to see my review, you may have to wait, and then the price is going to keep going up, just so you know. So click on the Meetvio and at least see the sales page, and then you can come back and see my review if you want to. All right, so the Kibo code. Let's talk about Kibo code. So Crisi and I, like I mentioned before, when we were doing Etsy stuff, we identified some challenges with selling on Etsy. Two of the biggest challenges with selling on Etsy for us, because the way we do it, is that we have inventory and it's in our house right now because that you can't, it's very, very rare. We talked about that. What, 50 some odd thousand shops that are making enough money to maybe open up a location. I'm not making enough money to open a location. If I did, all of the money would go to that. So instead, Crisi and I both keep it at home, and she has a lot more inventory than me. And so that's one challenge. Think about that. How much inventory would you need to have to get to the level you want to, right? So if you say, hey, I want to get up to the point where I'm making $30,000 a month, how much inventory do you have to be able to get there? Now, you may not know the answer to that, but I can tell you that for Crisi, it's a lot, right? It's a lot of inventory. And for me, it would be a lot of inventory. And right now, I say right now, my husband has this thing right now about not wanting to have a mess anywhere, which, by the way, I've always had a mess my entire life. So I don't know why he thinks I'm ever going to change, but he doesn't want me to put a ton of stuff in the house. In our massive, huge house, it's almost double what it was. No, it is more than double of what our last house was. And so I have like most of the basement filled up, which when I say basement, Crisi, I'm pretty sure when I told you that I was putting your room in the basement, you were thinking like dingy down with the rats or something.
no, 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 no. We have people here who have daylight basements, so I assumed something like that.
Well, you sounded like you were disappointed, but I think you could say the basement's actually pretty freaking nice.
I thought you were putting me away from everybody else because you were punishing me, but now I see that you were trying to be nice to me because I can't be up with everybody else. We're
Funny.
troublemaker.
No, that's not, it had nothing to do with that. It has to do with that was the nicest. So outside of the master bedroom, that was the nicest room,
It's
biggest
the
room.
furthest away from the kids being loud.
That is true too, except for that they're always down here being loud. And
That's
then it
true.
has a real nice bathroom. So it's basically like another master. It's just the bathroom's not attached to the bedroom. And but it's really nice. And so and then we have this big huge open space, and so I keep my inventory there. We hung some curtains to kind of separate it out. I should probably have had them closed right now, but whatever. um yeah, so we have the space. But think about this, is that, do you have space in your house? Of the people that I've talked to in our group, I would say no. A lot of people, when I talk to them, oh no, my house is already packed full of stuff. I've been living here for X amount of years, and I've just been collecting stuff and haven't had time to get rid of it. I mean, so think about the inventory challenges with that. And and you may have a different business model that you don't have to. Maybe you do something, you make something, or if you provide digital stuff, then you don't have to worry. That's the one thing that I say, if you're going to do Etsy digital, then yeah, go for it. But for most of the successful businesses on Etsy, it seems to be inventory. Like, there's a handful of digital, but the bulk of them are selling some sort of physical product. So the
And
inventory.
a lot of the bigger companies though, they have physical locations that are not at their home, obviously, and they've been a business at one point in time and have shifted to Etsy to help offset sales elsewhere.
Yeah. So anyway, but the thought, I just want you to think about inventory as a potential challenge. So then the other thing that we had a challenge with is, because we're doing physical products that we are ourselves selling, that we have to package them up and send them out, right? And like I told you, Crisi doing that almost killed herself. She got herself into pneumonia, and they wanted to put her in the hospital in the middle of a freaking pandemic. I mean, she almost got herself killed. And I think that while that may be a unique situation at that particular time, if she wanted to keep and maintain $30,000 a month in sales, she's going to end up killing herself for it. Now, I'm going to tell you guys, she has a pretty good profit margin. So if you're saying, oh, hey, well, $30,000 a month in sales isn't a lot, it is for her profit margin. And whereas Kibo code, in comparison to that, is a drop shipping system. It's a drop shipping system. And this is where I was going to clean this up real quick. So the drop shipping system, I know there are a lot of people in our group who are familiar with some basics of e-commerce, but drop shipping seems to be something that people do not understand. So I want to make sure that this is very clear. So we are going to have buyers, and we are going to have a product that they are buying. So we're going to say they're going to buy the product, right? So they're going to buy this product. Now there are two people involved in this, right? So we're going to have the supplier, and then we're going to have the person that has a website. In this case, if you're a Kibo member, that is you, right? So this is going to be Kibo website. So we'll call it, right? And we'll call this the supplier, and these are the buyers. Oops, buyers, not biters. That would be interesting, huh? So I'm just going to keep the dollar sign up there because it's fun. So the buyers, they find your product on wherever this is. And the reason why I say that is because under the original Kibo last year, we used a Shopify store. This year, they're changing that, but I anticipate that you will eventually have the opportunity to build your own site. So we're just going to say Kibo website for now, but you're going to promote the product, and they're going to buy it from you. And you go, but so I have inventory, Kim. No, you don't have inventory. And here's why. Because you, as the website person, you're going to be tapped into the supplier, and the supplier is going to tell you, or tell your website, I should say, every day, hopefully, that what the quantity is. And again, I don't know how all the automation is going to work, because they redid this entire thing for Kibo Quantum this year, but this is generally how dropshipping works. You sell the product that the supplier has. Okay. So you checked with the supplier, they have it. You say, okay, hey, I'm going to promote this product to these people. They buy the product from you, but you don't buy it from the supplier until after they've made the purchase. Okay. So they give you the money. So let's say it's $20 that you sell it for $20. So they give you $20. Then you turn around and say, okay, now I'm going to buy it from my supplier for $10. Okay. So then you keep the difference. Now that difference has to pay for marketing. It has to pay for your website. It has to pay for all this stuff. And the biggest challenge is that most of the time with drop shipping, you aren't getting a 50 or 100% margin or whatever that you want to call that. So it's not a 50-50 split. You know, it's not like you're doubling the amount to be able to sell it. Sometimes it's only 20% or maybe even 10%, but a lot of times that's for higher ticket. So let's say, again, put this in the middle, I guess. So you're selling it for $20. And now let's say that you only have maybe I did it the wrong way. I can't, all of a sudden math like eludes me. So it's $20 and you have a 20% margin, right? You only have $4 built into that. So you would be buying it for $16 and selling it for 20. Now, I don't know that you would do that. You might want to put it for more or whatever. But the challenges that we had and continue to have with most websites is one, we had challenges with the supplier, which I mentioned I mentioned at the beginning. Supply chain has always been an issue, period. Like we always have challenges with bringing stuff in. When I did my Amazon white label stuff, I bought from China and then they literally slow boat from China. People say, oh, slow boat from China. You do not know what that means until you do it. And when you're trying to get inventory over from China and it's taking 6 months because it gets stuck in a port somewhere, or 8 months or a year, you're like, yeah, I really understand what slow boat from China means now. Right. Because that's the way they do it, is they've got processes in place. And, I remember when I first started doing white label, I was in a group and they said, oh, hey, yeah, we have about 5 people, which out of like thousands is not bad, but we have about 5 people who purchase product from China through a specific shipper. And while the ship was in transit, the company went bankrupt and they literally left the ship in the ocean. But I mean, the people were still on it and everything, but because they didn't know what to do or where to go, and they had to wait because China has different rules than we do, and who knows what they are because they just make them up as they go. Or at least as far as I can tell, they literally just had to sit there and sail around, or say sail. Yeah, these are massive ships, putter around, I don't know, float around in the middle of the ocean until they got it resolved. And it took a long time. So and don't ask me, I don't know how they ate. I don't know what happened. I just know that they did not bring it to port, either port. They didn't bring it back to China. And it was because the company had gone bankrupt. And I believe that means that the government owns it, but I do not know. Like if they go bankrupt again, it's one of those, who knows what happened, but because of that, they couldn't come into port. And so it was a nightmare. And I'm going, yeah, man, I'm glad I didn't get stuck like that. So supply chain is nothing new. Supply chain issues is nothing new. Transportation logistics stuff is not, having problems with that is nothing new. It's just that we get so used to a certain way because things keep going, and then all of a sudden something happens and disrupts that. And we're like, what do we do? It's like when you lose your cell phone. Or break it like I did the other day, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, my entire world was upside down because my habit was my cell phone helped me to have communications with people. I checked my emails there regularly. I did a lot of different things with my cell phone. And then when I broke my cell phone, I was like, oh my gosh, what do I do now? I mean, it's not like we haven't always had cell phones. And so it's the same thing. We haven't always had good transportation and good logistics. It's just more recently we did. And so now we're kind of resetting a little bit, both on a lot of different ways. Customer service has gone down. A lot of stores have shut down. Different products. I can't even get, guys, I eat gluten-free bread, right? Because I have to, because I'm allergic to wheat. So is my daughter. Now, she seems to be less picky than me, but honestly, there is no good gluten-free bread. There's one that I found that I like that is tolerable, and I like it enough that I'll eat it on a regular basis. We cannot find it anywhere, right? We can't. Same thing like with corn. For those of you who eat corn, if you've noticed, oh, hey, the brand that I normally buy isn't available. That's because when the pandemic hit and everybody went and raided the stores for canned goods, corn apparently is way more limited, despite the fact that the government actually pays people not to grow it. So there's so many different factors that are in play in here that supply chain issues is not a surprise. So we had that problem. Everybody had that problem last year. But this year, what they're doing differently is they secured more suppliers. And they went ahead and so they already had plans to find suppliers where we could buy through them. But the problem was that a lot of them wanted to have like a resale license and everything else that that us as the Kibo website owners, we just didn't want to do or couldn't do, right? Like a lot of people in California, which we have this problem with our cousin and our aunt right now. They want to sell stuff in California, but it's like they don't want to sell it at the level they need to cover all of the pain and expenses of opening a business, right? My brother, he lives in California. For him to open his business, he had to go hire somebody to help him walk through it all and set it up right and decide how to do it. And the guy would tell him, look, you need to make sure you document this, this, and this, because if they ever come back, they're going to say that you can't take those as expenses because it's a hobby, not a business. Right. So he had to go hire somebody to make sure that those are all challenges you have with a business. Kibo has eliminated that, right? This is what they promise, at least in it. I'm not in California, so I don't know what they've done, but they said, you don't need a resale license. You don't need an LLC thing. And by the way, we have made sure that the suppliers that we're working with all understand what's going on. And we've worked out a process for that. So that's something that's been eliminated. And with the expansion of suppliers, we should have a better selection this year. Right. And then of course, if we somehow get everything shut down again, I have ways of manufacturing products. Crisi and I both have ideas and suggestions, and that'll be another course that we do, by the way. So if you want to be your own supplier, you can. So Kibo Code, though, the whole idea is that you find suppliers, which again, now they fixed that problem, and you put them on your website. Well, last year was Shopify. And we're going, Shopify is fine for getting started, but I guess after, I don't know, I've been on Shopify for quite a few years now, and I'm not impressed anymore, right? I'm unimpressed because the cost of everything for them is going up. I mean, they're digital. Why do I have to pay you $20 for an app? You're a digital product. I'm getting nothing for it. Oh, well, you're getting increased sales. Not necessarily. And so it was one of those, we were paying close to $100 a month, I think, for our Shopify stuff. And we only had part of the apps we were supposed to on it. And our even bigger challenge to that was our traffic. So we couldn't find our buyers because the training was focused on Google ads. Now I'm going to tell you guys, beyond the shadow of a doubt, the Google shopping ads and the Bing shopping ads, or whatever they're called, Microsoft shopping ads, I guess is what they're called now. They're amazing. Okay. They are amazing. I'm not going to say you shouldn't do them, because if you can dial that in, right, that will be, bread and butter all over the time, right? I mean, you can dial that in and get low conversion costs, high conversion rates, and you can make a lot of money doing it with Google shopping ads and Microsoft shopping ads. But there's an element of growth pain there. You have to let the algorithm season. Now, it's not as bad as Facebook ever, but with us, when we bought Kibo Code, so think about it, it was a year ago. I think it was the beginning of February before we really got started, and we didn't have our site built until a couple weeks into February. And if you remember me talking to you earlier at the very beginning, I mentioned how the pandemic struck China in December, and by February, around whatever their Chinese New Year is, they shut the entire country down. Right? I mean, they do it anyway, but they shut it down intentionally and said, no, nothing. Nobody goes in for manufacturing, which, by the way, I did work with companies that would work through the Chinese New Year because they just wanted to, they had a limited run, but, they would work with people. And so they shut everything down. Right. And of course, stuff had been shut down prior to that. We just don't know to what level. And so it was such a major difference that when they looked at satellite, they went, so keep in mind that in years past, if you were to look at satellite during Chinese New Year, it wasn't significant enough for them to go, oh yeah, the entire country shut down. For the pandemic, they looked at the satellite and they go, oh my gosh, their air is the cleanest it's ever been. And it's like complete changes. Yeah, they really are shut down. So that's how much that they really, really shut down in 2020. So that meant that the supplies that we were able to find, if we were able to find quantity for anything and we were advertising it to our people, now it's not just us, but everybody else who's selling it, including the suppliers, by the way. The suppliers were probably also promoting their stuff. And so now you're no longer competing against the 3 or 5 people that are promoting this. You're now competing against just almost exclusively that product, or maybe two or three, because nobody could get their supply in. And so you're paying a lot more for ads and not seeing those conversions simply because of the pandemic. And on top of that, the cost for online marketing just jumped, because guess what? Everybody wanted to do it. So that meant, and because everybody was shopping online. So the cost went through the roof, everything went through the roof. And so last year, Crisi and I, because by April, I mean, she'd already started picking up by then anyway, by March, but by April, she was like so overwhelmed, so she's like, hey, I can't focus on helping build Kibo code because I've got my billions of customers here to take care of. And I was going, yeah. So I went and helped her for a little bit, and then I was starting my own site. So we stopped with Kibo because of the pandemic issues. But one of the things that they changed is no longer paying. Here, look, our dollar sign comes in handy. We're no longer paying for ads. So instead, we're going to do a free marketing method. Right now, you can, if you're like, hey, I'm pro ads and I really think that, then, or you're like, hey, I don't want to miss out on ads, then you can still do ads. There's nothing wrong with that. But the free marketing method is going to make it so now, literally, right? So they have built a site so you don't have to use Shopify. So guess how much extra money you have to pay? Last year, it was $100 a month, right? I wonder if I can do a slash through on this. Maybe we could do a line, maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So instead of $100 a month, nope, I don't know what I'm doing. Oh, there we go. That's kind of one, right? So instead of $100 a month, we are actually doing, our extra on this is $0 a month. Now, the only thing that you do have to worry about on this is that you need to get a domain name, and you can get a domain name for $10 a month from littlebizdomains.com. Okay. So I'm writing that one down too. littlebizdomains.com. Now that is our resale for GoDaddy, actually. But if you go directly to GoDaddy, they can go, oh yeah, we're going to give you your first year for $1. Guess how much your second year is? I think it's up to like $18 or $19 now. So really, you're better to lock in a $10 a year price with Little Biz Domains than you are to go through either GoDaddy or whatever. Now, there may be some other places if you prefer them. That's up to you. We just set this up because GoDaddy is a really good platform. And so, and we can help you, by the way, we can help you with this. If you're like, hey, I'm having trouble connecting or whatever, you reach out to us and you give us authorization to go in there, and we can go in there and we can tweak it. So that's littlebizdomains.com. All right. So outside of the $10, what about, we have a free marketing method. So before, I think I spent $150 in 2 weeks to test like 2 or 3 products. And we didn't get any sales from those because guess what? We were competing with everybody else. And so we finally decided that, until we can get more options, that we were going to set it aside. We had every intention to go back once the countries were open again with supply coming in. We had every intention of going back. But by that point, we had so many things going on with our own stuff, and we were focused on our stores, and the holidays were coming up, and because I think it was probably June or July. If you look at the income shots, a lot of them were November and December for their big sales. That's because supply chain started kicking up again. So I think that if you're looking for an e-commerce opportunity where you don't have to worry about inventory, you don't have to worry about shipping the product yourself. And that's something that I forgot to mention, is that when you buy, so they buy from you, the supplier, you buy it from the supplier, they actually ship directly to the buyer as like your warehouse or whatever. And so it's still your business, but they're just basically holding the product. This is no different than Amazon doing it. It's just that they don't get Prime, right? So if I have I purchase a product and I hold it in Amazon, and then they buy it from Amazon and Amazon ships it to them. I say that the difference is that I actually have the customer. If they're buying it from Amazon, it's Amazon's customer. So you get your customer data, you get everything. And that is well worth the price of the course, in my opinion, because the amount of information for the training that they give, guys, isn't unique to Kibo, right? I mean, when they're teaching you a free marketing method, you can do that to promote whatever, right? Or to sell whatever you're selling. So if you're like, oh, hey, I want to do this, but I already have this I'm selling, So what? Use the same training to help you build that too, right? That's what we're going to do. In fact, it's funny because I'm not going to tell you the free marketing method. And you say, why, Kim? Because I want you to click on the link and look at their sales page or look at their webinar that's coming up. I want you to see it. I want you to see the whole thing because I'm excited about it. And I know I can't get you as excited about it until you see all of it. And I'm telling you from the Kim view, Kim's not a salesperson, right? I mean, yes, there's an element of sales to this, but Kim is not a salesperson. So I am just telling you about it. If you want to miss out on it, that's okay. And I understand it's a higher ticket product. It's not for everybody. I get that. And I will have a drop shipping course available. But I will tell you now, I have done my research in drop shipping. I've been doing drop shipping off and on since I was, gosh, Christine, when did we start that with Dad?
I don't know, a long time ago.
It was before the internet was even there. So 15, 16 years old.
Before the
14?
internet was there.
No, they did not have websites where you could buy stuff yet.
No, I know, but the internet in general existed.
Well, yeah, internet in general has existed since like the 50s. But the internet as retail internet in our community was not available until we moved into the ranch, which was, so the internet there was like what, we didn't even move in till 94, 95.
Right. We didn't move until 95.
Right. So then it was 95, 96. So it was right after we moved in, the AOL was finally available. So it was, 95, 96 or something like that was about the time that Dad was like, oh, here, yeah, I'm doing this. And it was drop shipping. And I don't think you stuck with it because it was really hard to sell, but it was a lot like, you'd take a catalog, you'd sell the stuff to people, you'd order the product and have it either shipped to you or shipped to them. Right. That was the original drop shipping. And this is a lot easier than it was back then. I remember when the internet first started and I actually built a site to sell the products before they even had the idea to have websites for people. So like I said, I've been involved in drop shipping for quite a while now. And the biggest difference is that, and even when I sell my own products, I tried to have other people drop ship my products. And that was the bigger challenge was the suppliers, right? So I was the supplier at that point. And it's like, oh, now I had to find the website people. And this is the other way around. Like if you are this person, you have to pay somebody to get access to drop shipping and you have to pay for a website, right? So now let's say you're doing Shopify and you are now paying $100 a month. Then let's say, I think the cheapest one I found is $17 a month plus an 8% commission. So they want 8% of your sale in order to connect you to everything and even to buy their services. Right now, you can get out of this. Instead of having 8%, you can pay, I think it's $247 a month. I think that's what it is. And I don't think it comes with a lot of training or anything else. Again, I'm not going to go through all of theirs because I have Kibo, but let's just say what the cost is for this. So now we're at a minimum of $347 a month. So now we're at $4,164 for the first year. And if you want to keep going, that just keeps going, right? It doesn't stop, right? So for those of you who have not seen the sales page, Kibo code comes in at, and I hope I'm not making this up, but I believe it's $3,500. I'm going to double check it, assuming I can. I messed up my click ratio galore on this because I go straight to the sales page and see what it is. Okay, so yeah, it is. So you can either, so this one, we'll do this, equals, what did we say that was? 4164. Okay, so 4164 for the 1 year. Okay, so again, this is recurring. So if you want to do that for 2 years, it's times 2. And you think I could do that math in my head, but I told you math seems to elude me right now. So that would be 8328. And this is where I think a lot of people, they go, oh yeah, $250 a month, that's not bad. But then they don't realize that one, you're not going to have a forum of people that you can talk to and get ideas from, right? That's what you're going to get with Kibo code. So this one is going to be, you're going to get it for either $34.97 one time, right? Or 4 payments of $9.97, and that's like $9.97, and that's first one at the first, and then 30 days later the next one, then 30 days after that, and then 30 days after that. So 4 payments, $9.97. This is still at $9.97, right? It's still only, I can't believe I just did that. All right, $39.88. So the only other resource I know about that is even comparable to Kibo, which by the way, I've worked with as a supplier. I've worked with multiple places, and I have not worked with this place because I didn't know it existed at the time. But what I can say is that the other ones that are like $10 a month or whatever, that's basically you get like $5 off of a $50 product or something. So 10% off, right? So you're getting like 10% off, and they're calling that they're a reseller thing. No, that's not the way it should work, right? Some of your suppliers are going to charge or have a lower margin. Some of your suppliers are going to have a higher margin, right? When I did it at a 50%. So I would sell as a supplier, I would sell it to the website owner for $10, and I would tell them to sell it for 20. Whenever I sold it for 20, right? So I made sure that I kept the integrity of the pricing for them. But when you're going through some of these other cheap places, like if you go, drop shipping company or drop shipping software or whatever, and you go through, they're not doing anything for you. They're just trying to sell their software. That's the biggest problem. So even if you look at this and you go, wait, Kim, but you're buying it twice. And you're right, I am. And the reason why is because I still have access to the original one with the website and everything else. I can still do that if I want, right? Crisi and I both have that. We can do that if we want. But they have updated to the quantum, which is what the version is now. So, and they've eliminated the challenges. Why would I not just buy into the second one to get all the training and everything else and the new resources that are worth obviously more than what they're charging, right? Because right here, this is a minimum. If you get a website, the website that they built for us is equivalent to $1,000 a month. Right now, you're paying way more, because by the time you go into Shopify and you add in all the apps that they have built in, you're going to be paying close to $1,000 a month, if not more. So now you're looking at adding a zero to this. I don't even know how that math would even out. I have to do it again. I don't want to. So we'll take the zero off so it equals better. So no matter what, I'm telling you now, we were paying close to $100 a month. If not, we might have actually been over $100 a month, but we'll just call it $100 a month. Because we had to Shopify isn't easy to integrate with, and they want their money through their apps, right? They make a percentage. The people who put the apps on there make a percentage. And so they're going to make their money off of you buying the apps, you buying the Shopify service, etc. So when they want you to put apps on there. So if we were at the 79, we were at the lower one. If you were at the 79 or 75 or whatever it is a month and added the apps we had, you'd be closer to $200 a month. And that increases this price even more, right? So when you're looking at either one of these prices compared to the only comparable alternative that I could find, and that actually offered, US suppliers. And so what I'm saying is that if you go down the list of stuff that Kibo offers, it's comparable to the original Kibo at this. And now they've eliminated everything, all these other challenges and problems. They're giving you training that you're probably not getting here, not the same quality of training at least. And because their training here is going to be about you selling the products that they want you to sell, which is usually theirs. So I don't know. To me, I'm like, it's exciting because even if I were to buy Kibo every single year at this price, it would be cheaper than paying for this company. And I get the improvement. So for me, and I think for Crisi as well, that we looked at this and we said, yeah, this is kind of a no-brainer for us because we have the opportunity to not have inventory, not have to worry about shipping the products. We can use a free marketing method. We don't have to set up a website anymore. I mean, gosh, all we have to do is the steps, right? We just have to choose the products to load onto our website on the Kibo resource. And then we use the free marketing method to get in front of buyers. So we literally just go through the motions. And if we do that, and again, I don't know how much time it would take you, but let's assume it's like 2 or 3 hours a day. If you're to do that 2 or 3 hours a day, you're bound to see results.
I believe it estimated 5 to 10 hours a week.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, 2 hours Monday through Friday. I mean, what, that's like the best part-time job you could ever get. So Christy, what observations did you have, or is there anything else you wanted to add to it or expand
For
on?
the updates they did this with this batch, you mean like with quantum?
Yeah, like what do you think? What do you see as
Well,
positive or anything?
so I don't know if you remember. Well, you remember this. We did drop shipping with China stuff or whatever years
Oh
ago.
yeah, I didn't even mention that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and we actually did pretty good, but the cost of advertising was what killed us. And even though we had like pretty good success on finally when we got the sales, we sold and we would sell to a lot of people and stuff like that. But the cost of advertising on Facebook was the most expensive thing about the process, and it killed the process for us because and Facebook did a big change at the time, et cetera, et cetera. So we ended up scrapping that after a while because we said it's costing us more than we're going to be making in the long run. So let's be done with it. Plus, it took weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks to get the product. So and then kept getting stuck in Chicago. So um, when that happened, I said I'm never ever doing another drop shipping unless they can find U.S. suppliers. And I had no idea Kibo was even in the works. I don't even know if it was at the time when I said that. Remember?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was. Well, I mean, it may have been in the works because you said that, and that was the last year that they did 100K factory, I think is what it's called. And so that was the third year that they did it. And I had bought it the year before, but not the first year. And so, guys, if you recognize this pattern, 1, 2, 3, right, and then they closed it. This is the second time they brought in a drop shipping one. This is the second year. They only release this one time a year, one time. So you've got to understand that they put a lot of resources into this. And so they had a gap between when they stopped 100K Factory and then when they started Kibo. And I think that was because when they stopped 100K Factory was because by then we were like, I don't know, I think we were still under the Obama administration at the time. And they go, whoa, what does politics have to do with this? Because at the time there was a discussion about shutting down the ports and taxing China and I think all the stuff that we actually ended up doing in the long run under Trump. But because of that, all of the shipping stuff, the shipping costs jumped up and everything changed between us and China. And so now drop shipping from China is almost not you can almost not make money off of it because that was something else that we noticed towards the end of our run with 100K Factory and why we ultimately pulled the plug on it was that we were buying stuff for like $2 or $1.50 or something. And then like almost overnight, all the companies jumped their prices to like $5 and $6 plus the cost of shipping jumped. So if we were selling something for $10 because we were getting it for $1.50 and they just jumped it to $6 plus the cost of shipping, we're at almost break even just to buy it, not even to advertise it or make any money or anything. And so that was that like a lot of people still swear by AliExpress, and that's the company that you can do drop shipping with, which I'll talk about in my drop shipping course for those of you who are interested in doing it. But we had to tell people like originally we're like, oh yeah, it should get there within like 30 days. So we had like, if you don't get it within 30 days, you can get a refund. Okay, we had to refund quite a few people because it ended up being pushed out because it got stuck in Chicago. It was like 60 days. We had to push it out to 60 days before they could get a refund. And people would contact us and be like, "Well, I haven't gotten my package." And it would be like at day 27. And because they're thinking it's 30 days. And we'd be like, "Oh no, we have 60 days to get it to you." And they get mad at us. And it's like, look, that's not our fault that the logistics, like I said, this has always been a challenge, right? Logistics has always been a problem. And that's not our, even though we can't control that, that's something we have to consider as business owners is that can we get the product to the people? Unfortunately, the Amazon world with Prime set us up for 2 day. I don't know why they all of a sudden changed that other than guess what? It's not their system. They're still using USPS and USPS said, hey, we're losing money on you. So we're not going to do 2 day unless we can. So that would be like if the warehouse is next to you. Like where I live, it's almost 50-50 chance. We only have about 50% of the products within that are Prime that are 2-day shipping. Otherwise, most of them are, 3 or 4 days. And I think Chrissy's, you've seen that too, right? Where you have a bunch of packages that are you go in to buy Prime and it's 3 or 4 days.
Yeah, I don't think we even have 2-day anymore here. And we have an Amazon location that's, just well, I don't know if they're inside town or outside town, but anyway,
Seriously,
what?
Amazon started right outside of that area.
I know, but I don't remember if they moved it inside or if they're still outside.
Yeah, I know. I know
'Cause-
they still have a big warehouse out in the Fallon Friendly area. I can't remember which one it is.
yeah. So, but my point is that they're, right here and I can't get anything 2 days. I never can get it like one day ever.
Yeah. So we are now to the point you go, oh, well, how am I? This is the number one question I heard last year. How do I compete with Amazon shipping? How do I compete with Amazon's pricing? You don't. You don't. But guess what? Amazon is no longer that competitive when it comes to shipping today. And a lot of the
Or pricing.
jumped up. What?
Their pricing isn't that great anymore either.
No, that's what I'm
They don't.
saying. Yeah.
So shipping and pricing shouldn't even be concerned. You could probably match them and still make money.
Yeah, and that's if you want to, because when you're the way we're going to be doing this free marketing method, which by the way, I am going to say is on a platform that Chrissy and I did not expect. And on top of that, this is what really excited us, I think, is that so Chrissy and I we have people who sell stuff, they buy stuff from us to make things and sell it. And so we started hearing from them that, oh, by the way, I'm doing really well on this particular resource. And so we've been talking about it for a couple of months going, you know what? Maybe we need to, of course, it was the holidays is when we were hearing that. And so we couldn't just shift over. We had our own stuff in the works. So by January, so this month, we started going, you know what, we need to look into this resource because we hear a lot of people saying they're having some wild success on this. And so we talked about it and we said we we're going to, but I expressed my concern. I said, look, I've done this particular resource like 4 or 5 years ago when it kind of first was getting momentum. And I said, and I didn't like it. And I had some really bad luck with it. And I didn't know what I was doing. So we really need to get some training on it. And then when they announced that particular method as the free marketing method, I think that pretty much clinched the deal for us because we're going, okay, you've eliminated all of our concerns from last year and you've added the one we wanted to learn about. So why would we not get this? So it's like we're really excited about this.
Well, there was also one other thing that it was like they had talked about. Okay, so two things, I guess, with inventory. First of all, and this is not really mentioned hardly at all, I guess, but if you have inventory yourself and you want to put it, like link it from whatever you're keeping it with, if you have a program or whatever, you want to link it to your website or whatever, it costs a lot of money.
Oh my gosh,
And
yeah.
if it's not a permit, like if it's not like if you don't pay like $10,000, $20,000 to do it for permanent or whatever, it's going to be hundreds of dollars a month. I think the cheapest thing we found was like $60 a month, and it only integrated with like one platform. And then if you wanted to go to other platforms, and it was per sales and all this kind of stuff. So there's all these kinds of integration things that you can get for if you have your own inventory. I do not connect my inventory to anything because I am not going to pay a ton of money and cut into my profit margin, right? So they've done that with their suppliers. They've connected it. Now, most of the integration things, this is what the second thing I was gonna say is that are on a delay. So like even if and here's a print on demand example, somebody orders through Etsy, right? It takes 15, 20 minutes usually at least. If it's automatic, it's at least 15, 20 minutes before it shows up on your print on demand location, depending on the integration. And then it takes time for it to if they have inventory that they have to change, it still takes time for that to usually to shift. Well, the Kibo quantum stuff is supposed to be a lot faster updating and stuff like that. And that was one of my big concerns last year was that we'd finally get it up and running and all of a sudden the product would be out. And we didn't know because when we're putting it up, and even though it's out when we're putting it up on our website, they had like 4 or whatever, and we didn't know until we were getting it integrated and everything. And so now it's supposed to be all integrated where it's a lot faster and you have more accurate numbers. And that's what my concern was last year. And they have hopefully eliminated that this time. That's what they say, at least. We haven't tried it yet.
Right.
I
Yeah.
can't
Because
promise anything.
now I will say that I've been with Aiden and Steve for a long time. There's only been there's been one program I refused to buy, and that was because I knew the challenges with it. And it's funny because Linda in our group, she actually did buy that program. And she came back and I told her, I warned her in advance. I said, look, she goes, are you promoting this? I said, no, I'm not. And she's like, why not? And I said, because I don't like the business model. I said, it is too much work. Right. And it was wholesaling on Amazon. They only did it one time. They only released that course one time and then they stopped because it was too much work for people. Right. It's not your product. So you have to keep selling. Oh, you have to keep finding suppliers and selling. It was a nightmare. And I think they learned from that, and that's part of what influenced Kibo, by the way, for their supplier thing, was because they didn't want to tell us, oh, go find suppliers. And that was because that was one of the challenges they had with that particular model that they did when they did Amazon. It was basically you I think it was you bought the product from the wholesaler and then you put it into Amazon. So it was a pseudo drop shipping style, but it was too expensive, too little of a profit margin and a ton of work. So, and then of course you have that risk with inventory in the first place. With drop shipping, you don't have that. And so there was, and then the only other time that they released a course that I did buy that I'm like, man, I kind of am disappointed about it, was when we did Pinpoint. And that wasn't necessarily their fault. And that was because you really have to have a sales background. And they did kind of tell you that, and they did give us information on how to do that. But really, you have to have a salesman personality in order to pull that one off. And so we did okay with it. And we still have that. It's a franchise. We still have it and everything. But we don't focus a lot of time on it. It's just there so we have access to the resources if we need it. So those are the only two courses that I know about that they've ever released that I would have been like, and like I said, Pinpoint's not bad. You just have to really be a salesperson, and you have to be a salesperson trying to sell a website to people when nobody wants a website, right? They've never wanted a
Which
website.
they should have gotten before the pandemic, which I was predicting, not the pandemic, but the needing of being online, just so you know.
Oh yeah, no kidding. And we've been trying to tell people as a local marketer, right? So I've been, as the local marketer part of me, I've been trying to tell people that. I talk to people all the time and they're like, oh, I don't have a website. I'm like, you have a business, a brick and mortar business. Nonetheless, people can walk into your store. Why do you not have a website? I don't need one. If people drive by and they want to come in, they do. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's pretty much like gambling, literally nowadays, right? Because nobody's going to just go into your store because you have a cool name. Now I take that back. Some people might, but are they going to be your buyers? I don't know. I never went into Tuesday Morning, that recently went bankrupt. I don't know if they're closing. I think they're just reorganizing, but I think it's called Tuesday Morning. And I was like, I had heard about them, but because their name was so dumb, I was like, what the heck? Right. I had no connection to them
Wait,
whatsoever.
they're open other days besides Tuesday morning?
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
But they have a really dumb name to me. And so I never really went past it. And then I think, I don't know what happened. Like somebody told me about it. I think Aunt Ria did. She told me about it and I was like, well, maybe I'll go and check it out. And then I didn't for a while. And then I was at the store next to them. This is when I was in Texas. I was at the store next to them and I was like, Cassandra, that looks interesting. And they had like patio furniture out or something. I was like, let's go take a look. And I walked in there and went, oh my gosh, this is like the greatest place ever. In fact, so whatever year that was, 2000, well, last year was 2020. So it was 2019. We went to the lake. I think we packed our vehicle half full of stuff that I bought from Tuesday Morning to take for the kids to play with. Cause it wasn't just patio furniture that they had there. They have like all these kinds of fun stuff and things that you can't find anywhere else. And I'm like, oh, and they may have sold somewhere else at some point, but it's like, they had bubble guns and they had bubble guns, like, ones that you would shoot bubbles with. And they had these cool squirt gun things and stuff to play in the lake with. I mean, it was amazing. So I bought like a ton of stuff from them. I went in there and I think the guy was like, wow, this is like the biggest purchase we've had in a while. I'm like, that's because you got an amazing place. But then, we moved and the pandemic hit. So then they filed bankruptcy. So now I'm really disappointed. Again, I don't know if they're closing or not. But
They still have a website.
yeah, and the locations here, which are not close to me, unfortunately, are still open. So, but anyway, that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to. There's a value right now to being online and selling online. Some people are pro e-commerce, some people are not. Some people want to sell e-commerce, some people want to do something else. But in my opinion, whether you want, if you don't care, you just want to make money, this is probably the easiest way to start. It is a high ticket price to get in. But again, you're basically, instead of paying, like I said, instead of paying monthly for the rest of your life, you're paying a one-time payment. And if you do the work and you make the sales, you'd be happy to get into the next model the next year, which I will let you in a little secret. that because we had the first one, we didn't have to buy the second one at the same price. We got a discount on it. I'm not going to say what, because I don't know if we're
But
allowed to.
if you, yeah, I don't know either. But basically because it's the same system. We paid for the upgrades. Is what we did.
Right. Yeah.
So now if you didn't pay last year, you got to pay the full price this year. So basically we just split it up into 2 years in a way, But it I should say this. I know you didn't have as much success with Pinpoint as I did. And even though my customer stuff still seems to, my customer service part of it that should have ended still seems to trickle on. um, I made my money back and plus some, obviously. So my idea is, if I want to try something out, my goals are at least make my money back. And I foresee that this option is, especially with all the free stuff they put into it, one of the biggest hurdles we've ever had was paying for advertising.
Yeah.
And that free marketing that they have available and the walkthroughs and everything with it are good, because yes, you can get that. You can probably get some of that information and a lot of the information for free somewhere else. Do you know how much time it's going to take you to track down that free information and to whittle through and see what you actually need for what you're doing? It is absurdly difficult, and it's all out there. It's just all jumped out there anywhere, and not usually in a specific order for what you need. And so that's why a training course is usually beneficial for people. And if you've ever had trouble trying to figure out what processes you need to do, go from point A to point D in an order, then a training course is always a good thing to do. So, but the real value of this is the connection to the suppliers, because I know they put a lot of work into that.
Yeah. And I do expect, I should say, I do expect, having had many and many of their courses, and again, moderate success with most of them. Um, Last year is the only exception. And that's because, and you mentioned that I didn't have a lot of success with Pinpoint, but honestly, the only reason why I didn't was because I was taking all of my time and helping everybody else who came in through me.
Well, yeah,
And
but I didn't say any. I said as much as me. And
right now,
I
I'm
have
just
dumb luck. What can I say? I have dumb luck.
yeah. No, I mean, I still think there's a value in that. And I think it'll come back. Right now, it's tough because a lot of small businesses that would be the most likely customers on Pinpoint would be, they don't know what to do. All the small business owners that I've heard, they're like, well, I'm closing my doors. I'm firing all my employees, I'm laying them off or whatever, because they keep thinking that the government's going to bail them out, and then they don't qualify for the loan, or they find out that there's stipulations to the PPP. And then, then you have other ones like I heard of from our sister-in-law, that she's like, yeah, the guy owns the business, and he calls up and he's like, well, I spent all my money paying myself and I need a loan so I can keep paying myself. He's laid off his employees, he's not paying for his location, and he's just trying to get a loan to pay for himself. And they're like, that's not the way it works. And so it's like, yeah, I think that guy ended up not getting a loan, thankfully, because I'm like going, oh my gosh, if that's what people are borrowing money to just basically borrow money. I mean, you can't live on borrowed money forever. And I'm like, that's really sad if a business owner thinks that way. But I understand that in the middle of this, if there's free money, people are gonna have their hands out. So, but yeah, I think that if I were getting started, if I had no other businesses right now and I were getting started with something, I think that this would be, because, but again, that's because of my background, right? I've done e-commerce my entire time online. I've been involved in e-commerce in one way or another. And a lot of it was part-time, but more recently it's been full-time. Chrissy's been in e-commerce for at least 10 years, I think.
20.
So just behind me then.
But Etsy for 15-ish, 13, 14. Wait, what year did I do it? I can't even remember.
It's probably around 10 years on Etsy.
What does it say when I put? Oh, I don't know if they show us anymore what year I started. Probably 8 or 9 years on Etsy. I did eBay, half.com, which is now part of eBay, and some other stuff before that, which was really successful for me. I should have kept with that kind of stuff because I was really good at it, but I ran out of stuff to sell.
Yeah.
I just had my own stuff to sell, and I was like, okay, I'm running out of my own inventory.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's, I don't know. I think I know that this is got to be up to you guys and anybody who joins through us. We're trying to, unfortunately, a lot of the people that we know of that want to join are not joining through our are either not joining through our links because they had it last time or whatever. So I don't know who's going to be comfortable joining us. I've already offered that if you were on here and you bought from us last year and you are buying this year, you don't buy through us. You buy through the special link from Aiden and Steve, and you will still get the bonuses from us. And you will still be invited to be a part of our little accountability group or whatever you want to call it. Right. And so even on that note, I was actually thinking that what we would do is switch these Q&As to once a week and include the Kibo people. Because if you don't have Kibo, you won't be asking questions about it, but you'll probably be curious about what we're doing. So we'll include that as a once a week Q&A instead of every other week. And that way, if you get stuck somewhere on something else, whether you're in Kibo or not, you can still hop in and ask a question every week if you want to, or send it in or whatever. On that, I think we're kind of running really late on this now. Yeah. So on that, I want to say we're going to delete some of this stuff because I'm going to just real quick cover the membership area and some of the upcoming stuff that's going on. I had hoped and had fully planned on and was scheduled to and was almost to the point of releasing the affiliate marketing course last weekend. But luck would have it, I got some feedback, some actually really, really good feedback from Stephen in our group. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to Stephen, not to me. That sounded kind of weird, but thank you, Stephen. It was very, very, it was funny because his feedback was that he'd like to see that the videos could go full screen. Now, when I set that up, it was supposed to go full screen when you get into the videos, right? You're supposed to be able to go, oh, hey, I want to watch this full screen, just click the button. And I had initially recorded it to show, how to slow me down and speed me up and everything else. But lo and behold, it wouldn't work because it was a custom embed instead of one that was built into the platform. So I went back to the drawing board. I figured out a hosting with Vimeo that I was going to do. So it bought bought a year of it and started loading up the videos, putting them into the site, and Vimeo suspends me. I'm not even having it for a day. And they're like, you've been flagged. And I'm going, why would I be flagged? And so I look and it says something about copyright issues or something else. And I went, that makes no sense. This is 100% my original content. Why am I getting flagged? So I put in a support ticket. Thankfully, it was only down for a couple of hours, but I don't think it was copywriting that was flagging me for. I think it was flagging me because I was loading up so many videos so fast. And they were worried that I was like a scammer or spammer or something. And so I got it resolved, and I now have to slow down my loading of the videos. So I got the whole first course reloaded and it should be ready to go. And I'm loading up the affiliate marketing course now. And then I'm of course adding stuff as I go because I think of new things. So the first course is under 2 hours. So if I were to put that on a site like, I don't know, Udemy, I could still make it free. And I want you guys to understand the value of the reason why we put this into a membership area. So why a membership area? I actually got this. I think Joanne asked me this along with a couple other people. I think hers was just what's the strategy behind it. But I actually had somebody complain to me once that it's not fair that I put it in a membership area. I should just load it up for free on YouTube. And at the time, I think I probably was. But with the YouTube changes of, hey, we can put our advertisements on whatever videos we want, whether you're part of the monetization or not. That was one of the changes that came out in November. I don't want to put the content that I don't want advertisements on YouTube, right? So I have to put it somewhere else. So let's just say I put it on Vimeo and I release it. That's a lot like, it's basically a paid version of YouTube, right? And so you can host your stuff there. People can still find it if you have it programmed like that. You have to say yes, make it public, or no, don't make it public. But for me, what happens is if somebody finds a video and it's the third video into the series, they're going to take information out of context. And I don't want that to happen. I don't want somebody to go jump and buy something or do something because they took a piece of information and they twisted into however they wanted it to be. I present information in a sequential order for a reason. And it may not always be correct. I may have to adapt it as we go, but at least it's a starting point for me to say, hey, does this make the most amount of sense? Because I want you to be able to draw a conclusion using critical thinking skills, not emotion, not because it's cool or whatever else. That's why we do these, right? That's why we talk in depth about Kibo code before we say, hey, it's closing. And yes, it will be closing. And yes, it is limited. It is only offered once a year. But if you're like, hey, I can't do that, I want to do something else, I want to have a membership area where I can tell you how to do things. It may not be as easy as something. And yes, I may have to say, go to this resource. You may have to buy a software program to achieve a specific result. But at least if you have the information in the sequential order, you can make the conclusion based on the information that's accurate, not on a segment that you just happen to come across. And I think all too often people do not realize the value of that. And so then, yes, could I put it on a page and just have all of the videos on there and people work through it? Sure. But I'm also a marketer, right? I'm also interested in making money online. That's part of what I do. Yes, I have my e-commerce stores, and I have other things I'm sure that we do. My husband has a job that we bring in money that way. But for me, my goal is to provide value and build an area that I can go ahead and teach you how to do things, teach you how to use the resources so you can buy what you need and apply it quickly and accurately. That's the ultimate goal. Now, is that going to be straight out the box? Probably not. But I can tell you, if I load up the affiliate marketing course onto Udemy, it would not be permitted to be a free course. I would have to charge a minimum of $20 just to be able to put that site on Udemy, right? Which is which is a membership style platform, but it's not really membership. It's just you're selling a course. So, and if I go to another membership platform, I'm going to have to charge because it's going to cost too much every month. And I may eventually shift to that. But for this one works for me in multiple ways. And so I built a membership area. I capture emails so that I know what people are interested in and I let them know what's going on. If people don't take action on the courses, there's nothing I can do about that. I am trying to reward people on that. And that's why in February, we're going to start a sweepstakes and I'm going to start loading additional courses in that people can basically earn, right? So there's no paying for the courses. You just earn them. But again, if I load these courses up onto Udemy, I could not make them free, right? I could not make them free. And so this is why I have a membership area, is so that I can still control the information and control the access and help people. Because if it's just free information that's out there, they can take the bits and pieces that they want and say it doesn't work. But there's plenty of stuff that does work. There's nothing that I have done that hasn't worked, right? The only things I can say is that if there's ever anything that I've purchased or anything I've ever done and it wasn't successful for me, was because I didn't take the actions that I was supposed to, right? Yes. In last year, we took some actions. We made the conscious decision to say, look, we're going to walk away from Kibo code for right now and come back later. We just got busy and didn't go back later, which tends to happen, right? I wish I could go back and smack Kim upside the head in April or March or whatever it was. I think it was April when I finally said, I can't do this. There's just not enough inventory for me to waste my time with. I wish I could smack myself upside the head and say, keep going. Because by the time the inventory started coming in, everything would have been in place, right? I wish I could, but I can't. So all I can do is say, look, this is a really good time for me to say, hey, I can just start fresh from everything and just say, look, we're going to start with this one and we're going to go forward. And then, by the way, the training that I got last year, if they don't have it this year, I'll probably do a course on it, because if you have Shopify, that's the one thing. And that's why they required us to do Shopify. So it'll be interesting to see if they do some additional advertising stuff, because that was one of the challenges that I had with my EP laser store, was that I wanted to sell on Google Shopping and I didn't know how. But thankfully I was on Shopify at the time. And I go back and forth on Shopify. I was literally ready to quit Shopify, and then they partnered with Walmart. Now, I don't know if I'm going to stay, because being on Walmart is a lot of work. And I feel like again, there's the physical products, right? Inventory of physical products. I have found out that I'm allergic to our product, not the finished product, but in the manufacturing of it, I'm allergic to it. So I'm like, oh my gosh. And again, this goes back to why I want to do Kibo code. I don't want to be allergic to products anymore. Right, Crisi? Being allergic to our products or even be susceptible to anything is
Well, I don't
challenging?
know if I'm allergic to my products, obviously. I didn't have a problem until recently. So I have a feeling it was the whatever they're using on the packaging to try and disinfect everything
Mm,
that's getting me.
yeah.
So because that's what every time I get it clears up when I switch off to other things, and then when I go back because I've still got piles of inventory that I'm going through because it all got delayed and came in late, and all at the same time. So I'm like, I have to prioritize which ones I want to go through first.
Right. And they are treating them. I mean, they talk about that all the time. They're like at the port, they're behind because if it falls under certain categories, then they have to wait and be, either quarantined for a certain period of time or they get treated with something.
Yeah, and
So,
what are they using? I mean, can they give me a warning, please? Come on. I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
I can't even if I wear a mask, it doesn't gonna help me if it's in my house. So,
Right. Yeah. So, but again, those are all things you don't have to worry about if you're drop shipping the product. I'm not going to say there's not challenges with that model. And when I finally get around to doing that course, it's not high up on the priority list because it's hard to get set up if you don't have a system, if you don't have a program to follow. It is that when I did it when I was younger, I think I lost my mouse again. When I did it when I was younger, we had a company, and it was funny because when the company finally got their act together and got online, there were people on eBay and on Amazon and wherever else, and they were selling the products for cheaper than the actual company was. And they said they were buying it from them. And I'm going, how is that even possible? So I suspect it was, either them having one of their employees sell stuff that was just overstocked, or they were just, because they eventually did get sold to somebody else. But I'm still with them. And in fact, they sent an email about discounts the other day, and I'm going, who I used to usually use them for shopping, Christmas shopping, right? But now I don't do that. But if you want to do that, there's a whole completely different program that you can use that's cheaper than the one I have. And that's some people do that. But honestly, I'm not going to lie and say that there aren't challenges with drop shipping, but there are. And I'm not going to lie and tell you that the membership area is going to be done overnight because it's not. Every time I turn around, let's see this week what's happened. Okay, I had the hosting shut down, I think late last week. Then I broke my phone over the weekend. Had to get a new phone. That was a day shot. Oh, and then let's see, that was on Sunday. So on what day are we on? Thursday. So last Friday, I went to make cookies. I thought they were gluten free. Remember, I told you I'm allergic to wheat. They were not gluten free. I was making the dough and I messed up on a couple of the cookies. So I just popped the dough in my mouth because it was supposed to be twice the size and I didn't want them to burn. So I popped it in my mouth and then I popped them into the oven and I started walking away. And went, oh, my stomach's not feeling good. Like, man, my hands are itching. The back of my neck is itching. I'm like, I feel like I'm having a reaction. What's going on here? I'm like, no, I'm just being crazy. So I waited too long. And then all of a sudden I'm going, oh my gosh. It's like it went fast. And I was like, and I just downed a bunch of Benadryl and like twice what I should have. And I was like, but it worked. Thankfully, it worked. And I was telling him, oh, you might have to take me to the hospital. The nearest hospital is 35 minutes away, by the way. And I'm like, I'd have to use my EpiPen before then. So I finally got it under control. But that shot basically Friday evening, most of Saturday. Then I broke my phone Saturday night. Then I had to go get the phone on Sunday. So that took most of the day because we're in Utah and everything is pretty much closed on Sundays. Oh, so yeah. And then let's see, yesterday we had the internet was out all day long. So that was fun. So we've had a nice, interesting week of chaos, but it wasn't just us, by the way. If you were in the DC to Boston area and you didn't have internet, you had the same challenge we did. Some moron decided to cut the line. Ours was a construction issue. I don't know what theirs was. So, but those are all challenges. You could find those challenges about anything, doing anything, right? I mean, we had our power cut a couple months ago because the construction worker lit something on fire and it burned the line or something. So there's just challenges no matter where you are or what you do. And you just got to embrace them and understand. I hope that you guys are understanding enough to know that because this stuff is free and I am pretty much building it all myself with Chrissy's help when she can. She's busy. I mean, I'm not busy. It's just I'm not as busy as her when it comes to e-commerce. So I work on other things and the membership area is one of them that I am working on. So we'll have the sweepstakes and hopefully, let's see, what's today, the 28th. So hopefully we'll have the sweepstakes and this is the goal and affiliate marketing course, if I spell it right, on February first through third, somewhere around there. Because I do have to build both the rest of the way. They're almost done. Both of them are almost done, but I don't want to promise the first and then it be the second or third. So we'll say February 1st through 3rd, somewhere in those dates they'll be released. Then we're going to do our 12-week course. We're going to start that on, we're going to commit to it now. Can you see my calendar, Crisi?
Yes.
Okay. I didn't know if it showed that stuff. So February, it was so funny. I got to tell you guys, this is a side note. So there's I normally am off by now because I wanted to go watch this webinar from this guy that he is a very good instructor, but I wish he didn't. I mean, it's so obvious when he does things, and he recorded it earlier in the day. Because I'm going, he never replies to questions. And I'm going, well, I mean, there's like 1,000 people that show up, so whatever. And then I'm going, he's recording it earlier in the day, and he's like trying to say that, oh, well, my thing's off. Now I do know how to screw mine up. I have done it before, but his was not off because he went to the same website I went to at the exact same time, and his was 5 hours earlier than mine. And I went, okay, that's not possible. So I knew he recorded it 5 hours earlier. So anyway, so let's do it for February 15th. It'll start February 15th. Now, this is going to be a week by week release. And that's because I'm actually building it as we do it. And this is where we're going to do, and you don't have to be part of Kibo code or anything else. Anyone's welcome, right? And it's going to be where we're going to, week 1 and week 2 are already set. So those of us in Kibo code will probably be ahead. So week 1 is going to be choosing your monetization method, right? And that's why the course is in the members area already. Choosing, I guess it'd be your monetization method. Then week 2 is going to be building or fine tuning, because you could start building it in week 1, fine tuning, whatever the platform is you sell on, or whatever you're selling. So if you're doing affiliate marketing, it might be setting up your emails, your email system. It might be putting, getting your opt-in pages built or anything else. That alone is pretty hefty work, right? Now, this is going to coincide with Kibo code. So by February 15th in Kibo code, let's see, module 1 in Kibo code starts tomorrow. Don't know what it is because it hasn't been released yet. Module 2 starts the 5th. What I do know, and they have confirmed, is that no matter what, if they don't fill up, which they have, I'm sure, a lot of spots, right? They sold to like 3,500 people last time. So let's say they have 5,000 openings. If they fill up all 5,000 openings, they'll close earlier. But it looks like they're on par to do about the same, maybe a little bit more. And so it looks like they'd stay within that range. I expect that they'll be able to stay open until the end of the launch. The end of the launch will be the 4th. So if you're like, oh, hey, they're not going to tell you this because if they have to close early, they will. I will tell you now, if they have to close early, they have to close early. But the 4th is when they have as a hard deadline. They have to close by then, right? Because by the 5th, we're starting module 2. By module 2, we're supposed to be able to start selling, right? Now it might be the end of module 2. So it might not be until the 12th, closer to the 12th, right? So we might be close to module 3, which is going to be sometime this week, that before we can really get going on it. But we're supposed to, between module 2 and module 3, so between the 5th and the 19th, you should be posting products and making sales. There should be nothing stopping you from that, right? And if you are on top of things, it's probably be closer to this week here. So because of that, when we start here on the 15th, I expect that we have products to be promoting. And so week 3 is going to be focused on, they're going to have us doing something. So we're going to already have a lot to do. So we're going to set up some channels. I'm going to say so hard to type with this microphone here. Some channels. I don't know which ones yet because I need to see what they're going to be. I have a whole list, right? I have a whole list, and I will start recording what I can on those. And then I'll add to it as soon as week 3 comes up. And that's why it's going to be week by week, because this is not even beta, it's alpha access to this. I will probably charge for this or only offer it as a bonus later on. There will be ways that you can earn it for free to keep it now. But then once we're done with the 12 weeks, if you haven't hopped into it, then it'll be however I decide at that point. So week 4, we'll be setting up more channels, right? And the reason why we're setting these channels up, this is what our primary thing is for several weeks. And I don't have my board. I can't see it. And I don't want to go up and move it. So week 5 will most likely be setting up the last of the channels. And these will take some time. You want to optimize them and everything else, but it's all reliant on you having week 1 and week 2 done, because we need to be setting up, even if we don't use these channels later on. Like we could just be like, hey, I'm going to set up a Pinterest account, and maybe you already have one and you just want to use that. That's fine. And we'll talk about that when we talk about setting up that channel. Pinterest may not be the first one, by the way. It might be later on, right? I have an organized list to put harder ones spread out through these, and then easier ones with them, because it can take you an hour or 2 to set up each one of these. So let's say that if we do 3 channels on this, it could take you, 4 or 5 hours that week to set up all 3 channels. And the same thing with the next one, same thing with the next one. And so if we're doing Kibo code, we already have 4 or 5 hours of work to do. I might end up saying, here's this one and this one, here's an advanced one, right? So this is, again, it's supposed to complement Kibo code, because I think that is one of the best and most amazing ways. I've done drop shipping forever. I love it. But it's also something that you can do with whatever it is you have for your monetization method. So if you have an Etsy store, for example, you already have chosen, and you have products you're selling, this is done, right? And you don't really have to build or fine tune your platform, though you may have to if you are selling on Etsy, which would be through our Etsy course, which won't be available then. So you have to go through the old one and just fine tune and ask questions if you run into something. And then by week 3, though, if you haven't built other channels, like you may have a Facebook page, but do you have an Instagram, and do you have, so whatever it is, we'll have 3 channels that we focus on, 3 or 4, and then 3 or 4 here, and then 3 or 4 here. And we're setting those up to eventually add in either automation or at least a schedule to help us automate as much as possible. So my throat is getting really dry. Crisi, I need to make you talk more during these.
No.
Girl, no, I'm still sick. Why would I do that?
I'm not I don't know, I'm just stuffy.
Yeah, well, I am too, but mine's allergies, so I'm allergic to stuff year round, which was the funniest thing ever, by the way. When I called up to my allergist, which I am not going to keep, but I called up there, she wasn't there, and so the other guy that was there was like, he got on the phone with me and he goes, well, you shouldn't. I was taking prednisone at the time, and which I do not want to take anymore, but I haven't since then either. And he goes, well, you shouldn't have to take more prednisone. I mean, unless you're allergic to like mold or something, there's nothing in the air right now. And I went, yeah, I'm allergic to mold. I'm like, there's nothing I'm not allergic to. Right. I mean, every time they do the scratch test, they always go, whoa. And yeah, so there's nothing I'm not. So it was funny to have him go, well, you shouldn't be having any problems right now unless you're allergic to mold. And then I go, yeah, I'm allergic to mold. He's like, oh, well then, yeah. It's kind of funny. I can see.
Hey, do you want to do a shout out to any participants?
Well, I think I only see one left right now. Looks like Marjorie. Marjorie, are you on for real, or is it making it up?
You can still say hi and thanks for coming.
Yeah.
Which I just did, so.
Yeah. Well, and Marjorie's one of our favorite people. I say that because she's one of the participants. And I got your email. Oh, hey, Marjorie. I got your email. I think I replied, right? With our internet out yesterday, I'm like so scattered. But okay, good. All right. I'm just checking to make sure I didn't have any notifications. Sometimes people will message me right when I get on here. I got to tell you guys, I appreciate the contact and asking me questions as soon as we get on. But if you do it through Messenger, I very rarely will check my phone while we're on here. In fact, I never check my phone except for just now. So good. Well, did you have any questions at all, Marjorie, that we missed, or something I said I was going to talk about and you were hoping I did? Man, I was going to unmute you, Crisi, but it says ask to unmute. Okay, good. Yeah, we'll have a lot more stuff coming out. Again, like I said, if I hadn't run into a few challenges, we'd be a little bit further ahead, but it is what it is. So, well, thanks for coming, and let's go ahead and wrap it up since it's almost 2 hours in now. And if you do run into any questions, Marjorie, you know how to reach me. You can post them in the Facebook group if you want to. And anybody else that on the if I missed anybody during the thing, we were not watching, we were talking. So I did have the chat up and there were no questions in the chat. And I didn't have any questions come in through the forums. So if you sent one in and I didn't get it covered or I didn't see it or whatever, you can either post it in the Facebook group or reach out to me through Messenger on Facebook Messenger if you're on Facebook still, I guess, or if you're on Messenger still. So I guess that's it. Crisi, did you want to say anything else?
I do not think so.
We do not have a name this time, by the way. We're not going to do Revengers.
Nope. Nope. Nope.
Even though that was funny. So, all right. Well, that's it then. Thanks, Crisi, for joining me. And hopefully you can keep joining me if we can. We may have to, again, fine tune the time on this since not a lot of people can attend, but we'll see what we can do.
Well, remember, I've got digital stuff here for little ones. And
oh, nobody wants to go earlier. Nobody wants to go earlier.
And so, well, yeah, but I'm just saying then I'm here all the time. I'm just not always available to get on all the time.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks everybody for coming. I am going to go ahead and end this. So feel free to hop off while I figure it out.
Okay. Bye-bye.